Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ed Collab Gathering, session number 6, Sparking Bottom-Up Cultural Change with the Use of Google Tools. Presenting on this today is Tanya Thomasy. She is one of the 2 tech integration specialists in the West Orange Public School District and has been a certified Google trainer since 2016. Prior to beginning her teaching career, Tanya worked at HBO and at Prudential as an audience research specialist, and she has published 4 children's books. So I'm kind of curious to know what she doesn't do. This is her first presentation with the Ed Collab Gathering, and we are so excited to have her present her work with us today. If you have any feedback or questions for her, please use the hashtag the Ed Collab Gathering, and then a space, and then hashtag 6, and we'll be sure to get it to her. All right, Tanya, so I'm going to throw it over to you, and good luck. You're going to be great.
Thank you. Thanks, Shauna. And thanks, Ed Collab Gathering, for this opportunity. I'm so happy to be here. Welcome to my session, which is Sparking Bottom-Up Change with Google Tools. And my subtitle is Teacher-Led Collaborations and Other Upheavals for the Greater Good. So I'm going to use some visuals for this, and I'm going to share my screen right now. Hopefully you're seeing everything. My Twitter handle is my name, and that weird spelling is pronounced Tanya Thomasy. And as Shauna told you, I have had many different careers in the corporate world, but I've been an educator for 16 years, and 10 of those years were as an English teacher. I started in the middle school and then spent most of my time at the high school level, which I loved. And for the last 6 years, I've been a technology integration coach. So when it comes to talking about sparking bottom-up change, I work directly with teachers, and I feel like I've come to understand a lot. I'm a girl from New Orleans, and one thing that you figure out quickly living in the Crescent City is that rivers bend and wind, and you don't always see what's around the bend. And you also learn, living in New Orleans, that how to ride the current is the way you're going to get where you're going. And you learn that water seems gentle, but it has tremendous force and power, a lot like a teaching staff. And you also learn that underneath the water, there's a lot of silt and mud that builds up with steady deposits, and you might not even be aware of it, like a teaching staff. And you learn that things that are not fortified eventually break the levee. So I've used my Crescent City metaphor to help me understand what it means to be an educator and a tech integration specialist. These wonderful bunch of teachers are on a raft with me, and we are figuring out the current, and we are trying to navigate the bends in the river. I was charged with pulling together a secondary tech team. And the team that I form consists of 20 teachers from 6th grade to the 12th grade level. And these teachers were from every subject area. And that was really important for me because too often, I think when a teacher voice is requested at the table, and honestly, sometimes that's rare, sometimes the only teachers who are approached are English or math teachers. So it was really important for me to create a holistic team with related arts, language, everybody in conversation, or I knew there would be no buy-in. And the other thing that we have is vertical alignment. So this team is made up of 7th and 8th grade department representation in language arts and math and social studies, science, because those batons need to be passed and the people who are running the relay need to be in communication. We came into being after this team formed, which is a group of K-6 teachers, and they were formed under my colleague, Diana DaCosta, who's also very involved with the Ed Collab. And the instruction from our then superintendent was to catch the elementary schools up. Now, let me roll back a little bit and tell you why a catch-up was needed. And I'm going to try to do this sharing thing so you can see my gorgeous face. Hold on 1 second. All right, so you should be seeing me right now. Do you see me, Shauna? No? Let me go back to my screen then, and I won't be so fancy. Let's see. Are you seeing me, Shauna? Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. There
I
we
can
go.
see you. Yep.
You can see me. All right.
Yeah.
What I wanted to explain was that when we first rolled out our technology, we started out with a 3-year rollout, and we started with the high school. And then the middle school came in the second year. And because of the middle school structure being team oriented, it was a much more even experience. And we had learned a lot in the first year. The third year rolled out to the elementaries. And by the third year, the high school and the middle school were sort of in a nice hum, but the elementary schools were really a little bit at a loss. Technology didn't seem like it was as necessary to some of the elementary teachers, and I'm certainly not saying that this was a feeling of every teacher. It wasn't at all, but in general, there was an overall sort of passive use of technology that was happening at the elementary school level. And so this team was sort of charged to bring the elementary schools into the fold. And in 2 years, I cannot explain what miraculous things this team has done. And Google tool alert number one. If you are admiring my awesome visuals here, I create these visuals like this one and this one using Google Drawings. Um, I mash up pictures and my own photos. And anytime you customize something, you draw people into your visual storytelling. It is another form of digital literacy. And if you want to know how to do this sort of thing, just hit me up on my Twitter handle and I will explain the hows. But I wanted to tout Google Drawings because sometimes that is not an application that is used as widely. So one of the things that we realized when we came to be this team, the elementaries actually surged in terms of creativity. I think in a lot of ways way beyond where we were at the middle and high school level. And we realized, okay, where do we start? How do we begin? What do we do? What is our why? And we started to realize that we were really not a tech team at all. We were not really gathering to talk about tech tools and how to turn key skills. We were actually dealing with a much bigger, more nerve laden prospect, and that was that we were addressing fundamental changes in pedagogy. There was a lot of resistance at first and a lot of grumbling about the technology. There was anger in our culture, and it had to do with the fact that teaching was really changing, and the presence of these devices was really changing the nature of how the student was in the room and how the teacher had to teach. Our district was coming off of a lot of uh, tumult, I should say. There were a lot of top-down dictates, sometimes from the state, sometimes from our administrators. There was tumultuous administrative change. There was contract disputes. There was a big change in our teacher evaluation system, and it was honestly low morale, testy times. And the silt and the mud that were under the water were palpable. So what I experienced was we were bumping into fear and fixed mindset and why do we have to make this change? And we realized that the culture needed to be addressed. There was a resistance to top-down anything, including PD, and there was a desire for teachers to have more autonomy and to learn from one another and to have more voice in what their day was like. So instead of calling ourselves the tech team, we dubbed ourselves the Spark team, and we fashioned a purpose statement that we felt was important to us to understand so we could explain what our purpose was to others. And it was really founded around pedagogy and reclaiming our passion. And we realized that Collaborative opportunities and empowering teachers to lead and have agency was really what we needed to set out to do. And we needed to model it as well, because there was a lot of talk, but you cannot have talk without backing up what you do. So this particular set of teachers were great, and they were selected because they exhibit certain qualities. They were out of the box thinkers, and they were lifelong learners. They were risk takers. And the critical part was not necessarily their technology skills. I mean, some of them were self-admittedly kind of on technology skills, but they were so willing to be self-examining, and they were okay with change, and they didn't mind the messiness of not knowing where everything was going. So they exhibited growth mindset. So what we did, we were really lucky because some administrators also understood the need for something to happen that was bottom up, something to happen that was teacher generated. And we were granted 25 minutes of a high school faculty meeting in December to do what we thought would be meaningful. And we really jumped at this chance like a hallelujah moment. And we knew that we wanted to do something teacher led. We wanted it to be interactive. We wanted to break the mold of, quite honestly, boring faculty meetings where you're only in compliance. And we wanted to introduce some new ideas like reflection time and pineapple charts. So we knew that we had to address the way we thought. And what we did was we started out with this bingo game. And if you look at any row across or down or diagonally, I'm sure you could fill out this bingo card of, someone rolling their eyes or someone saying the phrase, someone sneaking out of a slide door. And we said, wouldn't it be great if instead of this flat compliance oriented lecture structured type of meeting, we did something different. We turned it into an interactive, teacher-driven, bottom-up experience. So tech tip number 2, we used Poll Everywhere. Now, Poll Everywhere is a free cloud-based application that allows teachers to create something akin to a classroom where you have a code, and then you can set up questions and see the live returns in a variety of outputs. And what's great about Poll Everywhere is that it's also an add-on which you can seamlessly intersperse into Google Slides. So you can insert questions on the fly. Now, there's a lot of platforms that allow you to poll, but what I loved about this was that Poll Everywhere puts one of the outputs out like a word cloud. And as people are saying the same thing, that font expands. So you start to see where the commonalities are, and it's very visual. And this continues to change and change and change as people are responding. So we posed 2 questions to the faculty. What would be an ideal working environment for you? And it was awesome to see how collaboration came up so hugely in that conversation. And then we also asked again, what could enhance your teaching practice? And again, collaboration everywhere. Funny, coffee rose so high. Now, one caveat about Poll Everywhere: it caps at 40 responses. So it's great for the classroom, but for a faculty meeting of about 150 teachers, we had to divide into tables that had a table captain. So we discussed these things, and then the table captains put in the words, and we made it to the 40-word cap. But we did want to give people the experience of having an interactive one-on-one activity. So Google tip number 3, we used Google Forms, and that way everyone could respond to the form, and we asked them to reflect about this meeting. And again, they could see this pie chart form right in front of them. And it was largely positive, with most people saying that, they were going to try this right away, and some saying that they were interested. And then there were some people who thought, I don't even know how I could use this Google form in my class, because I think a lot of people see Google Forms as a means of assessing students, and it can be so much more of an interactive tool and a sort of a leaping point for conversation. So Google Forms is another tool. We then introduced the idea of metacognition. What's coming up for you? How do you feel about this experience? Are you annoyed? Are you curious? If you're annoyed, why are you annoyed? And we asked them to reflect. I know we always ask our students to reflect, but when we turn that lens on ourselves, I'm not talking about how did that lesson plan go, what worked or didn't work. I'm really talking about how am I showing up in this moment? How am I, why am I bothered right now? So we were asking them to look at the silt and the mud under the water surface, and then we tossed out the idea of growth mindset. Now, growth mindset is one of those things that everybody talks about, but I don't think everybody actually applies. And, what it is it's becoming conscious to the fact that there is no there. You are always in a perpetual learning process. And if you feel yourself annoyed by change, it's a time to really turn that lens inside and say, why is this change freaking me out or getting on my nerves? We then knew that we had to turn the light not on us at all, because we certainly were no experts. We wanted to show what other teachers were doing all around our building, because there were teachers all over doing amazing things. So we dropped a pin on West Orange High School, and different departments, we sort of highlighted, this department is using, the phys ed department is using Flipgrid right now to do like helpline practice for anti tobacco, or also if you get in an abusive situation, how would you be that phone call to help someone deal with abuse? We showed how they were using Powtoons, how the math department was using Desmos for graphing, how the business education department was using Storyboard that, and then our tech engineering, were using drones and 3D printing. And all of a sudden you could feel that everybody was really experiencing pride or curiosity in what their colleagues were doing. We highlighted colleagues. Then we threw out the principle of pineapple charts. So a pineapple is the universal symbol for welcome. Someone told me later that it's also that it's also the symbol for swinging. We were not applying it in that way at our faculty meeting, but there were some chuckles about it. Pineapple visits are done in a certain spirit. It's a teacher invitation to come into your classroom. No one has to go. It's not administrator driven. It is a no pressure, non-judgmental, be a fly on the wall zone where you step into a colleague's environment and just watch. You don't take notes. You certainly don't peer critique. You are visiting as a guest in another room. And you're just saying, hey, this is what I do. What do you do? So we set up tip number 4, a communal Google Calendar that was dedicated just to pineapple charts. And I have to say that Google Calendar is also something that is not as utilized by teachers as it could be. And we started with the teachers on our team. And if your door was open, you put a pineapple outside. It could be a real pineapple. It could be a design pineapple. It could be a sign. But that was an indication to say, hey, you got a moment? Step on into my room. And we started out with our team. And there was a little bit of curiosity about it. And let me go back one slide. This was our meeting. So we were pleased with how it went. And then we asked for feedback, and it was really interesting. We asked for feedback via a Google form. And one of the things that came out of the Google form was, all of these Google forms that ask us our opinions, and then it goes nowhere. We don't know what the results of the survey were. We don't know, if there was a point to me taking the time to fill it out. And all of a sudden we thought, what can we do to make you understand that, one, we do care, and two, someone is responding to your, someone's responding to what you've given us as feedback. So we thought, well, we always talk about using Flipgrid with our students. Flipgrid is a video tool that allows you to communicate with people via a video platform. This is not a Google tool, but it interfaces beautifully with the Google Classroom. So we thought, why not put the responses forward to our administrators and have them respond back and then post an exchange about the exchange. So kudos to these two fine men. On the right is Principal Hayden Moore, who you can follow him at Mr. Moore WO. And on the left, that's Steve Oshalski, who is functioning right now as the language arts supervisor. And they totally wanted to empower their teachers. And they also wanted to be transparent. They wanted to deal with the feedback they were getting. So they put Flipgrid comments. And then what we did was we embedded their Flipgrid responses to the staff, to all of the surveys, and we created a hyperdoc. So what a hyperdoc is it can be a document, it can be a Google slide, where you put all sorts of different resources in one place. And this became a way that we could get back to the staff in conversation about all of the feedback that we had received from the Google forms. And it really made our administrators feel better as well, because they realized that, what we all lack is time. I want to be in conversation with my teachers, and I've got this video tool, and I can talk to my teachers in non-synchronous time whenever it's convenient for them. So my principal was so excited about leveraging Flipgrid as an administrator that he is part of Essex County Principals. And at the next Essex County Principal that he hosted, he asked me to present how we used Flipgrid to the other principals. And shout out to high school principal from Livingston High School, Mark Stern, who said, wait, roll back. What is a Spark team? What's a pineapple visit? Tell me about Flipgrid. And what was great was that this ended up being in a pineapple extension to his school. And now his school, I want to actually give a shout out as well to Lori Perez, who is the tech integration specialist at Livingston High School, and English teacher Tanis Chavan. We now collaborate district to district, and we are sharing our experiences in PD and our ideas, and it's so thrilling. So going back to my metaphor, what I started to realize is bend by bend, we are hoisting our flags and we are riding the current. And the current is the desire for teachers to have greater teacher-to-teacher collaboration, to have more agency, to have more voice, to have more empowerment. And step by step, we're finding that we're moving our way down the river. So the Livingston invitation led to an appearance at the New Jersey NJECC allows teachers to gather and share practices. And now here I am at the Ed Collab gathering. So one of the things that we realized is when we meet, these teachers are not being paid for this time, but if you inspire a teacher, they will do anything. So we needed to create a system where the agenda was teacher made. So for the agendas, they give input on what we're going to talk about. We also came together with our mutual agreements, how we were going to run our meetings. And we say our mutual agreements. It's not my agreements. Do you agree with me? We all formulated how this large group would run together. And we say those at the beginning of every meeting. And then we always start our meetings with inspiration, because inspiration is what keeps you in. Then we do some sort of collective processing. We sketch note, we think tank, and then we discuss our issues and our challenges, and we collaboratively work on something to create some sort of output together. And then we turnkey that in our departments or among our group of teachers that we have touch with, or our teams in the case of the middle school. And that's how we are spreading what we're doing. So the hurdles, we certainly have had hurdles. And I would say if I had to call them down to two, our biggest hurdle is a lack of time, and it's also not always being in growth mindset. Because I might be in growth mindset in multiple arenas of my life, but we all have that dark area that we don't see, that we're not conscious of. And even the most evil Knievel risk takers of us all will occasionally have that silt and mud that we have to take a look at. And that's what we're doing as a team. If you're liking my visuals here, I have to promote Jiffy and GIF Maker. I think that Charles Smith said this in his session. You know, visual storytelling is so important, and using an image to spark the mind is really important. So lift your GIF game by using these sort of tools in presentations with your class as prompts to think. Another thing that we do is we record, we reflect, we chart our agenda, we chart our progress, we take pictures of everything we do, and we think together on a Google site. Google sites are absolutely awesome, particularly new sites. So easy to control, much more easier to post to, and anything that you create that is a Google document, you can embed within, you can embed videos. So this is sort of our meeting away from the meeting. In the future, we've proposed to do a lot more, but to be totally honest, we know that we are in a time where there's going to be cuts. We know that we have a contract year coming up again. Those are never fun. We are in a leadership hunt right now. So the future of my team is sort of a question mark, because if you can believe what it's coming down to how do we pay for subs? And when 20 people gather together to meet, it means that we have to fund subs to have them get together. And the time is critical. So, we're going to figure it out. But one of the things that I love about this visual is you are not going to stay wherever you are. Wherever you are is not where you're going to stay. So, the things that take you through ever-changing times is really working that growth mindset, really sort of staying on top of the tools that allow you to communicate, because it's about communication and inspiration. And I'm going to stop sharing this and say thanks for the pineapple, Ed Collab. I'm really glad to share at least my story, and I'm happy to take some questions.
All right, Tanya, that was amazing. I cannot believe that you have not presented with us before. That was so good. I just wanted to share with you some of the feedback. So there's quite a bit of feedback. I have loved the tool shout outs, lift your gift game. That was received really well. Love how you leverage Flipgrid and Google Forms to get immediate communication and feedback from staff. And I had written, what's a pineapple visit, and encourage people to check out your sessions. So I think that you're going to get so many people checking this out because there were so many tools. It's one of those sessions where you're going to need to look at it over and over and over again and listen over and over and over again. There was so much here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. And we would love to have you propose another session, because that was really, really good. So everybody, just a reminder that we have some more sessions coming up, and I'm going to share with you what those sessions are. So in session 3, we have finding authentic audiences, connecting communities through story, disrupting traditional approaches to school discipline, literacy practices to teach students, not suspend them, and then inquiry for the youngest learners, Genius Hour, and K-2 classrooms. So make sure you join us for one of those sessions. And as always, please share your thinking and your questions using the hashtag #TheEdCollabGathering. In addition, if you have a chance or feel as though you have gotten something great out of the event today, please consider making a donation to our adopted charity, the Grace Smith House. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And thank you, Tanya. And enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.